I hope you have understood from I is equal to 0 to I is equal to 5, right? Now let us understand what will happen when I becomes 6. So I will write here what I is equal to 6, and obviously our J value will be 7, right? And here what is the value we have to compare? We have to compare a 15 value with the rest of the elements, right? To get the next smallest element, right? But for this 15, we don't have an element. So we know the output is going to be -1 only, correct? That is where we are getting in our output also -1. But here one more important thing we have to understand. Here our J loop is not going to work for us. Why? Because if you see the condition, J is less than ARR dot length, right? So it will be 7 less than 7. This condition is going to be what? False, right? So here our J loop is not going to run. So our 15 will not travel inside our J loop, okay? So since it is not going to travel, the comparison will also not happen, okay? So directly from the I loop, we will pass it to the condition where it doesn't have any smallest value, and we will print directly -1, okay? So that we are going to see everything down how we are going to do, okay? Now here guys, there is one more important thing to concentrate. When I is equal to 6, we are only left out with one element, that is 15, right? And if we see our J condition is also failing, that is why it is not entering inside our loop, and we are printing directly -1, right? Now it is going to increment I loop, right? So we are going to use I plus plus, and it is going to be what? I is equal to 7. And if you see the condition, I is less than ARR dot length, right? So 7 is less than 7. Here will also happen the same, right? And that is where it is going to give us false, and that is where our I loop will also terminate. So we will have only this much iteration from I is equal to 0 to I is equal to 6, and this will be our end of our nested loop, okay? So guys, I have explained you the iteration, okay? And also I have explained you how the comparison is going to perform. Now we will write our conditional statement to find out our next smallest element. So I will write here what? Next smallest element, okay? And below that, we are going to write our conditional statement. So I will write here what? If condition, okay? And in this condition, we will write our statement, okay? Which we are going to compare it. So what we will write? We will write here what? If our ARR of J is less than our ARR of I. And if this conditional statement turns out to be true, then you please break, okay? Why we are writing break? Because we want to stop our further execution. So this is how we are going to get our next smallest element, okay? Now we have got this. Now what we have to do? We have to also write our conditional statement for printing -1, right? So I will write here what? Print -1, okay? And for that, we will use a flag variable. So we will come here and we will write here what? Found is equal to false. So the first we will initialize our flag as false, okay? Now we will come here and we will take this condition, okay? So if this condition turns out to be true, okay? So let me just put this condition here. And if this condition turns out to be true, then we will change our found as true, okay? So we will come here and write mention as what? Found is equal to true. And if this condition turns out to be false, so let me write this. So if this condition turns out to be false, then there will be no change in our found value, okay? It will remain as false, and using that, we are going to print what? -1, okay? Now, our output, if you see, it is in an array form, right? So that is why we will need an empty array. So we will come down and we will come here and we will declare at what? Result is equal to empty array. And what we will use? We will be using our push method. So let me write this push method. So if this condition turns out to be true, okay, so I'll write here what? True. We will push what? Our next smallest element. So I will write here push, and we will take this next smallest element and I will put it over here. That is what we are going to do. So if this condition turns out to be true, our found value will also turn to be true, and then we will push our next smallest element to our result array, okay? Now let us come here and we will see what if it turns out to be false. So we will use again push method, because if it is turning out to be false, then also we have to push -1, right? So we will come here and we will write here what false. If this condition turns out to be false, then again we are going to use our push method only. And what we will be pushing? We will be pushing -1, okay? And then we will get our final value. So whatever we have written, once that all execution is completed, we will get our final output. That is nothing but this. So let us take it from here and we will put it down, okay? I will put it over here and we will write here what? This will be our final output, okay? So this was our final output, and we will implement the same thing inside our function. So we will write here what? Function, and our function name will be what? Next smaller element, right? And we will invoke it here. So I will write here what? Next smaller element, and we will pass our input array, okay? So let us come here and we will take this input array and we will pass it to this particular function, okay? Now let us receive here as in param. So I will write here what? ARR. Okay. And now let us just console it out. So I will write here what? Console.log ARR. Okay. Now let us test this in the terminal. So I will write here what? Node, and we will write here day 66 challenge and we will hit enter. What we got? We got our input array. Okay. Now we will come here and we will write our nested loop. So I will write here what? Nested loop. Okay. And below this, we will start our I loop. Okay. So I will write here what? Let I is equal to 0. I should be less than our ARR dot length. And then we will write here I plus plus. Okay. And inside this, we will write our J loop also. So I will write here what? For let J is equal to, it will be I plus 1, correct? The starting point. And where it will end, J should be less than ARR dot length. So that also I will write here, okay? And then we will write here what? J plus plus, okay? And now we will come here and we will write our console.log statement for our I value, for our J value, and what will be the ARR of J. That means our exact element, okay? So we will write here what? Console.log, and we will write here I colon, and we will write here what? Dollar of I. So I will get my I value here. And now we will come here and we will write here what? Console.log. Here also inside the template literals, I will write here what? I colon dollar of I, and then we will write here what? J colon dollar of J. Okay. And then we will write here what? Dollar flower braces, and it will be ARR of J. Okay. Now let us see what do we get in the terminal. Okay, so we will clear the terminal and we will rerun it. So I will write here what? Node day 66 challenge, and we will hit enter. Now we will see our output and we will match up what we have done in the iteration. Okay, so we will see one by one. Now when I becomes 0, what is the J value? J becomes 1, and it is going to run till 1 to 6, right? That is what you get here, 7 to 15. Now let us see if when I is equal to 1, okay? When I is equal to 1, it is the same. It is going to run from 2 to 6, and you have here 9 to 15, right? When I becomes 2, it is going to run from 3 to 15. That is what we have, right? When I becomes 3, then it is going to run from 2 to 15, right? So when I is equal to 3, you are getting this value. When I is equal to 4, it is 1 to 15. That means it is correct, right? Now when I is equal to 5, we have only one value, that is our 15, right? So we are getting this also. So I said here clearly, when I become 6, our J loop is not going to run. So that is why you are getting here only I colon 6. Okay. Still we have the value 15, and it is going to check with this condition, and it will directly push -1. Okay. So everything we are going to see inside our function. Okay. So let us come here and now let us remove the console.log statement because our terminal is full. So I will clear this out, line number 41 and line number 43 also, and we will see our rest of the things. Okay. Now we will come here and we will write our comparison statement of our ARR of J is lesser than our ARR of I. And if this turns out to be true, then we have to push, right? and plus we will have to declare a flag variable and that we will turn as true. So we need to push into our resultant array, right? Into our result empty array, and we will have to turn our flag to true, right? And then what we will have to do, we will have to finally break it up, correct? So that all we are going to do. So for pushing, first we will come here and we will declare here result is equal to our empty array, and inside our I loop, what we are going to do, we will come here and we will declare a flag called as a found, and we will initialize it with false with a boolean value. Okay. Now, when it is true, we are going to push ARR of J inside our result, right? And then we will write here what? Found is equal to true, and then we will write here what? Break. Why break? Because we want to stop our further execution if our smaller a number is being found. Okay. So now we will come here and outside our J loop, we are going to write the condition if there is no smaller element is found, then please push -1. So what we are going to write, if not of found. Okay. This we have seen in the previous challenge also. Why I am writing not of found. Okay. And we will come here and we are going to do what? Result dot push, and we will be pushing -1. Okay. Now, if you come here, I will explain you what is this not of found. Okay. So here found value is what? False, right? So I will write here what? Found is equal to false right now. Okay. That means if I am saying not of found means what? Not of false, because it is a Boolean value. So if it is a Boolean value, so not of false means what? It is true. So